welcome back, John. It's in the Zoom room.
Yeah,
So let's just have a look at our quote and related teaching for a bit. Let's read that, and then that'll take us nicely into today's lesson. Keep it short today. Just we'll do the lesson and maybe a meditation to finish up.
it
Okay,
might
so
it
I'll just
might just be the lesson in my case, John.
Yeah, you don't want to do a meditation. Okay, so all right. So let me just share my screen. Um, yeah, the screen and uh, uh, okay, so if you can read that,
There are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. Albert Einstein.
yeah, amazingly, huh?
Yeah,
That Einstein said that. So not really a scientist sort of quote, is it? It's more spiritual one, which is what happened actually. As he progressed in his understanding, he became much more philosophical. Most scientists deny that miracles are possible. They poo-poo it. He's going, well, either nothing's a miracle or everything's a miracle. So Einstein became more of a philosopher and even a mystic who sought to see deeper than the physical laws that he spent the first part of his stellar scientific career trying to explain. So he was looking for what he called the grand unified theory that would unite the four seemingly separate observable forces in the universe: gravity, electromagnetism, strong nuclear force, weak nuclear force, in one theory that explained all of them and didn't contradict itself. And he failed. He couldn't do it. And no one has done it. Everyone who's attempted this has, not because he was, not intelligent, probably one of the brightest men ever lived, but because it's actually impossible to unify the fragmented universe of the ego into one simple formula. You can't do it. It's predicated on the idea of separation, which means that it's fragmented, it's chaotic, it's incapable of unity by definition. That doesn't mean that unity doesn't exist, but only that you won't find it in the manifestation of the idea of separation, which is what this universe is, a projection of thought outside the mind that projected it to create the illusion or delusion of separation of the mind and its miscreations, as Einstein himself observed. So if you can read that quote, again, very
yeah.
philosophical quote.
The human being is a part of the whole called by us universe, part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty.
Yeah, and then over there, you've probably seen this before, but when you first saw
Yes, yeah, yeah.
what did you see when you first saw it? That's
Right
it's
now, I mean, I know what's going on, but right now I'm just seeing a cheesecake.
yeah.
But of course, otherwise it's a boat going through the water.
Yeah, and some people I've had people call it a shark. That's
Yes. Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
you got three, and maybe there's other perceptions of it possible, but there's three that people have mentioned that I've seen. When I first saw it, I thought it was a boat at first glance. So it just shows you, it's all perceptual. Reality is um, entirely perceptual, and we create a meaning. I think that's the key thing. We create meaning from the images that our eyes and our senses perceive, and that meaning then becomes our reality. That doesn't mean that it's true. If you thought this is uh, a boat, then you'd be wrong. But that's the meaning you give it. So it's a very good illustration that perception isn't absolute. It's not really true. It's very relative. Depends on the meaning that each person ascribes to things. That's what perception's made on. So you're just saying, well, how can that be reality? So one person sees this, and another person could see exactly the same thing, and they see something else. It's like, so what's real then? He's saying none of it's real. Only what lies beyond it is real. So we literally went out of our minds when the universe began in what cosmologists have called the Big Bang, which is a massive explosion of energy that's been expanding outwards ever since. And obviously, we remain out of our minds as long as we believe we're living in a body in a world outside of us. Clearly, we're all out of our minds. That's self-evident from the fact that we seemingly all have bodies. However, while we're seemingly living in a body in this world, we do have the choice of how to perceive everything in the world, which is what Einstein is alluding to. And so that's the only freedom of choice you still have. You can choose to perceive everything only as what it appears to be. There's no deeper or higher dimension of reality than the physical universe. That's the ultimate reality. Perception that philosopher Ken Wilber calls flatland. Just found its best expression in the scientific materialist worldview based on Newtonian physics, which postulates that the physical universe operates according to fixed laws independent of the observer. But that's clearly not true. Quantum mechanics has disproved that. And if you really look at the dogma behind it, as Rupert Sheldrake does, I don't know if you've watched his talk, brilliant talk. He just deconstructs it. So let's look at these 10 fundamental dogmas of scientific materialism, and he shows why they're all very questionable, if not absolutely obviously untrue. And interestingly, they actually banned that talk. Ted banned the talk, which is like, well, why would you do that? Surely it's about free, open discussion. But they banned it because obviously it was pushing some of the ego's buttons, and the ego didn't want to know about it. So that's the one perception, scientific materialism. Alternatively, we can choose to see a dimensional reality beyond this flatland of material objects and bodies, while we still perceive them with our physical senses. So this type of seeing happens not with our body's eyes, but with our minds. And reinterpret our sense perceptions in a transcendent way to free us from limiting beliefs such as scarcity, suffering, sickness, and death. Discussed a bit of that in the expression session. That seem to be expressed in the forms of this world. So therefore, as Einstein points out, the choice is between seeing nothing as a miracle, i.e. just part of scientific materials, flatland, that's all there is to it. Everything is a miracle. Perceive the deeper dimensional presence that underlies every form in this world. So he's quite correct. If you understand what a miracle is a correction in perception in coarse terms. So you can choose to correct your perception in whatever you're looking at and see something deeper or higher than just the flatland worldview. When you choose the form of flatland worldview, there's nowhere else to go. You must accept that you're mortal, you're bound to experience suffering, age, and death from the day you're born. There's nothing else. Pretty depressing, actually, and uninspiring. This perception doesn't explain what happens before birth and after death, or why the universe and the separate forms of life that seem to populate it exist at all. Right? So, as Rupert Sheldrake says, well, modern science says, well, we have one free miracle, which is the Big Bang. We can't explain how and why that happened, but then we just assume it did happen and we take it from there. One free miracle, and then we've got it handled, but they can't really explain where it came from. And the only teaching that I've found that does explain it is A Course in Miracles. He teaches us exactly what the metaphysical origin of the universe is. It's the idea of separation, and then the guilt and the sin and the fear that come from that. That you can see in this diagram. Sent into hell. So he explains it all, really eruditely and in a way that makes sense, and says, well, this is why the Big Bang happened. It happened because of an idea of separation, and then the guilt and the sin and the fear and the attack thoughts that inevitably came from that caused us to literally go out of our minds and try and run away from this terrifying thought system into a reality where we couldn't we would escape from this fearful, wrathful, vengeful God that we'd set up. And that's why we created an external world and went out of our minds. And so he explains the metaphysics of it, which, if you understand that, that explains everything. Because the biggest question is why, not how. Like, scientists deal with how. Okay, we'll give us one free miracle. We don't know why, but then we'll take it from there and we'll talk about how. But the why is the most interesting question. But that takes it out of the domain of science. It becomes a philosophical question, which is why scientists are afraid of it. Yeah. So, let's go back here. So, how can you ever find happiness in that limited perception? Because it just isn't true. It fails to give you any sense of real meaning in life. The best you can do is, well, all I can do is look for pleasure, for things that I want, comforts, pleasure, material things, and so on. Now that's it. And when those are not there, then I suffer, because there's nothing further that thought system can offer. We really are born to have a lifetime of fleeting and often unhappy experiences in which we can hold on to nothing, and then are doomed to ultimately die. What meaning can our lives really have? How can that mean anything? On the other hand, the alternative miraculous perception offers a world of infinite meaning and purpose, because it allows you to see beyond the appearance of things in this world to their essence, which is the primordial consciousness, or as we call it, pure formless awareness, that preceded the idea of separation, the consequent Big Bang that birthed the material universe. So this is an infinite eternal presence, and because it's eternal, still underlies all forms of matter and energy in this world. So if we choose to see this presence in everyone and everything, they become the miracles or corrections of transformed perception that show us this presence is real and is in truth in everyone and everything in this world of form. And that's all that a miracle is. So he calls this miraculous vision of the world Christ's vision. And A Course in Miracles says that it's essential to your true function in this world, just to be happy while you're apparently here and prepare your mind to leave the world behind entirely, a process he calls salvation or one-ment. And we translate as enlightenment or awakening, an alternative version of the Course. As he points out in today's lesson, it's also essential that you see everyone and the world from the perspective of eternal love, to help anyone else to heal their minds of the misperception of flatland and experience a happy dream while they walk the path of enlightenment that will ultimately lead them to awaken from the dream or the optical delusion of consciousness, as I call it. So that leads us nicely into the lesson. Should we just dive into it?
Yeah, that's good.
Lesson, where are we? Let's just open the lesson. That's what I had it open, but not. and 350. All right. So do you want to just go straight into the lesson or look at what is a miracle?
No, let's go straight to the lesson.
So if you can read the lesson in the original and alternative, the key idea there.
Miracles mirror God's eternal love. To offer them is to remember him, and through his memory, save the world. Corrections mirror pure formless awareness. Corrections mirror pure formless awareness of eternal love. To make them is to remember it, and through its memory, to free the world.
Yeah, so that changes it a bit, the alternative. So correction mirrors this pure formless awareness of perfect love, eternal love. When you make the corrections, you remember it. The correction restores
Yeah.
your memory of this awareness. So it comes more and more into your mind through its memory to free the world rather than to save the world. So when you remember it, then you extend this memory out, remembrance of perfect love, that frees others, and that's how we free each other. We free ourselves and we free others through a change of perception. All right, so you want to read paragraph 1 in the original and the alternative, sentence by sentence.
What we forgive becomes a part of us as we perceive ourselves. What we let go of becomes a part of us as we perceive ourselves. It's an interesting statement. What we forgive becomes a part of us.
As we perceive ourselves. Yeah. Do you understand that? Why that's the case?
So if we forgive somebody's arrogance, then that acceptance becomes part of us. That ability to understand that.
Well, when we truly let go of our own negative thought and emotion towards anyone or anything, then that personal thing ceases to become separate, you see? It's no longer separate from us in our perception.
Yeah.
So it becomes part of us. In other words, it's incorporated into our self, our awareness. We're not seeing it as a separate personal entity. Whereas
Yeah.
if you don't forgive, you've got negative thoughts and emotions, you feel very separate from whatever it is that you're perceiving, a person, uh, any other living creature, an object. You feel that sense of being a separate self.
So this is the
So
taking. Can we
Mhm.
see this as being the taking responsibility for a thought, belief?
Yeah. And your responsibility, if it's a thought of separation, becomes to let it go so that you restore your mind to oneness. That's what letting go does. It restores your mind to a state of oneness or pure formless awareness in which nothing is perceived as outside of you. So everything is incorporated as one with you. That's the outcome of forgiveness, you see. So forgiveness restores us to this state of unity, which is the whole point. Is that clear?
Yeah, yeah, it does. That is helpful actually. The Son of
Okay.
God incorporates all things within himself as you created him. The extension of perfect love incorporates all things within itself as you extend it. Your memory depends on his forgiveness. Your memory depends on my willingness to let go. What he is unaffected by his thoughts. What I am is unaffected by my thoughts. But what he looks upon is their direct result. But what I perceive is their direct result. Therefore, my Father, I would turn to you. Therefore, my source, I choose to turn to you. Only your memory will set me free. Only your memory will set me free. And only my forgiveness teaches me to let your memory return to me and give it to the world in thankfulness. And only my letting go teaches me to allow your memory to return to me and give it to the world in gratitude.
Okay, and just from the top, an alternative.
What we let go of becomes a part of us as we perceive ourselves. The extension of perfect love incorporates all things within itself as you extend it. Your memory depends on my willingness to let go. What I am is unaffected by my thoughts. But what I perceive is their direct result. Therefore, my source, I choose to turn to you. Only your memory will set me free. And only my letting go teaches me to allow your memory to return to me and give it to the world in gratitude.
Okay, so what's he saying in this one?
It's saying that as we forgive, we 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 reintegrate ourselves and start to complete ourselves, and the memory of spirit depends on our willingness to do that. And how we will perceive the world around us will indicate the degree to which we are doing that. And is asking us to join, to rejoin with Source, activate our memory, and allow Spirit's guidance to direct us in gratitude.
Yeah, and the key, and he's saying only my letting go, only my forgiveness or letting go teaches me to allow your memory to return to me. So the whole point of letting go is it restores this awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love. So the memory of it, the remembrance of it is the Holy Spirit. And then as we remember it more and more, it becomes not just a memory, it becomes our true awareness. So eventually when the memory has served its purpose, this awareness will be fully restored and the Holy Spirit will have no function left. See that? So it makes complete sense when you think of it in terms of a memory, doesn't it? So the Holy Spirit came into being apparently with the separation, but that's an illusion. You know, the separation is ultimately not true. So the Holy Spirit is an illusion as well. But it's the illusion that corrects all the other illusions. So you don't need, when you deny God, then the memory automatically is is created. You can't, because you can't ever truly forget that. So once you go down this whole mad track, the moment we did that, this Holy Spirit, the memory of this fundamental awareness, pure formless awareness, then came into being, you see, because now we needed the memory of it. When our memory is fully restored, then it will become, there's just this awareness again, pure formless awareness of perfect love. There's no need for memory anymore. So the Holy Spirit doesn't need to intermediate anymore, because we're just fully in this awareness. And so the job becomes to use the memory to restore our mind back to our original state of awareness, which we remember through the memory. Now, if you understand, that just makes complete sense, doesn't it? That completely demystifies what the Holy Spirit is and what it does. It actually becomes very logical and quite simple and straightforward, which it's anything but. If you read some Christian theologians, they get themselves in horrible twisted knots trying to explain what the Holy Spirit is and what the Trinity is, because they don't understand that it's actually really, really simple. It's just an aspect of the mind. As soon as you create it as some kind of entity that's outside of the mind and exists out there with some relationship with God, who's also kind of this distant figure, you get into horrible confusion, and none of that is true. So the brilliance of this teaching is that it cuts to the chase, and it tells you exactly what these things are in a very simple, logical way, and a way that is understandable to even a layman. It's not highly complex. It's just, okay, yeah, well, we all understand memory, and you understand that a memory leads you back to something that you remember, an original state. So the memory of the Holy Spirit leads you back to pure formless awareness of perfect love. That's not that difficult an idea to understand, is it?
No.
There's no mystery there, and that's what we want. There's no mystery. It's actually very plain and simple and clear. And again, there's the Holy Trinity explained. You let go. You correct your perception. That raises your mind into an awareness of the true self, which is logically must believe to be one true self. You must believe in oneness, which connects you with this pure formless awareness of perfect love, which is just perfect oneness. So the true self is a derivative of pure formless awareness of perfect love, and will ultimately take you back there. And that again is very logical. Yes, you can see the logic of oneself must come from the idea of oneness. Clearly, it's connected to it. And so this is then, just by following the simple logic of the Holy Spirit, we can return our minds fully back to pure formless awareness of perfect love. If we would just listen to the simple logic and follow its guidance, which is what this whole course is about, really. You're just trying to teach us a very simple thought system, very simple logic. Say, well, just do one thing. Really, all you have to do to activate all of this is to let go of your current misperceptions of everything in this world. And that's then becomes the focus of the course, changing one's perception from false to true perceptions or Christ's vision, which are the miracles or corrections. That's what forgiveness and letting go, surrender, acceptance, salvation, one-ment, enlightenment, Satori, rebirth, and awakening all mean. It's that transformation of mind that happens in real time. When something arises and you get tested and you have a false perception, that's when you're being asked to let it go and restore your mind to a true perception. And that's where the rubber meets the road of this course. In the actual shifts of perception, and which then have the effect of identifying you more and more with your true self. And in the end, he says, once you've fully done that, God takes the final step, and you just merge back into your source, being pure formless awareness of perfect love, and disappear as any kind of true self or anything external to this awareness. Just disappear and merge back into God, and that's the mystical merging of the Father and the Son, or the extension and source which is what the Holy Trinity is really about. It's designed to facilitate that. Okay, so happy with number one. Any comments, questions on that, or
No, that's
the
good.
Holy Trinity? But you can see, how deep you can go with a simple passage like this. You can go into the metaphysics, the descent into hell, the Holy Trinity, and that's why we discussed it earlier. It's got deeper levels of significance because it can take you very, very deep in just one paragraph.
Indeed.
You can always, in fact, almost everything you can in the course, you can reference back. That's why we go back to these diagrams. You can take it back to, the fundamental metaphysical truth and relate it, which is kind of the whole point. Everything leads back to that underlying truth. So the more you do the lessons and read the text, the more you start to understand it, which is the whole point of the course. So we understood it straight away, then there would be no need for a course, would there?
Mhm.
We need a course because we don't understand it fully straight away.
And as we gather miracles from him, we will indeed be grateful. And as I experience corrections that come from pure formless awareness of perfect love, I will indeed be grateful. For as we remember him, his son will be restored to us in the reality of love. For as I remember it, my true self will be restored to me in the reality of perfect love.
And then from the top in the alternative,
And as I experience corrections that come from pure formless awareness of perfect love, I will indeed be grateful. For as I remember it, my true self will be restored to me in the reality of perfect love.
So thoughts on that?
Yes, saying here that as we experience love and gratitude and are able to feel gratitude, the more we will be restored to perfect love.
So corrections lead to gratitude. And as I remember it, my true self will be restored to me in the reality of perfect love. So look at the Holy Trinity idea. It's to raise yourself up through letting go into more and more of awareness of the true self. So if you keep doing that, that true self becomes your true identity, and you stop believing in the separate self that has created time and space. So your perspective is transcendent one. And that's really the scope of this course. He's trying to get you to correct your perception and identify more and more with the Christ, with the true self. And then he says God will take the final step. So in other words, pure formless awareness of perfect love, you'll just merge back into that when you're ready. Eventually, there's no difference. You're so rooted in the one self that this awareness has arisen so strongly in your mind that you can just surrender into that awareness. You become one with that awareness. Everything else fades away and is undone. The body, my separated mind, ego mind, and this whole world. And that's then you jump off the cycle of birth and death, as is shown here. So once you're fully rooted in this awareness, you go back, you leave the body behind, you simply go back there, and there's no more ego and karma to cause you to come back, skip around, bypass this pure formless awareness of perfect love, and go back into a body to live out this psychological emotional attachments again in another life. And that's common. And that's why we have multiple lifetimes. So it's actually very simple, isn't it? It's a very, very simple idea, teaching, but nevertheless, very powerful in this world, because most people believe in illusions and have no idea who they are, really. Okay, so go back here. Sorry, just go back to the lesson. So yeah, any other thoughts on the lesson?
No, they're reassuring.
Yeah, they're all really, I mean, you start towards the end of the workbook, you start going, it's all just pointing in the same place, isn't it? It's just the lessons pointing you to the same reality. It becomes very clear as you compare them. All of them just have a different perspective to, I think that's the genius of it, so it's like, it's not just the same lesson repeated, because he knows that that's not the way our minds work. They are seemingly highly individualized, and so he gives us different lessons to appeal to different people. Inevitably, there will be a lesson or lessons for everyone in the course that really work and go, wow, that's really powerful. I really get that. And other people might not find the same lesson that works nearly the same way for them. Okay. What are we doing? Yeah, it's been just about an hour. If you want to
Yeah.
call it now, happy to guide you in a 10-minute meditation if you want to do that to finish the session.
No, it's probably best if to.
Okay. You want to just
Yeah.
call it a night.
Yeah.
All right. So just looking into tomorrow, can you do afternoon or evening session?
Well, I certainly can't do evening. I can possibly do afternoon. Yeah.
Okay. So 12:30 maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe a bit later actually, because
Yeah. Yeah. You
um,
program it what you want, and I'll see what I can do.
yeah, say 2 o'clock.
Okay. That's good.
All right. Okay. Thanks, John. I'll see you then.
Thank you, Jono. Thanks a lot.
All
Cheers.
right.
Good night.
Have a nice evening. Thanks for joining. Stay. All right. It's a wrap for today. Thank you to John for joining. Nice, short, sweet session. Message is clear. Listen to eternal love, follow its memory, and it'll help you to let go of your attachments to this world and awaken. So, if you feel like you need a little bit more help with that, then feel free to join us for our next masterclass. That's happening next Sunday evening from 8 o'clock. Go to theaolg.com. That's THEAOLG.com to find out more and register. It's completely free. If you enjoyed what I showed up front, the daily quote and a little bit of commentary on it, then you can get that sent to you via Telegram every day and free. So go to lifebold.com. It's LIFEBUILD.com. You register for that. And finally, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, then hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed this, and you'll be notified whenever I go live, do a live stream, which is 6 days a week, every day except Saturday, usually for at least an hour, sometimes 2 or 3. So a lot of free content on the channel that's designed to help you to awaken from the dream. So yeah, that's it. I hope you'll take the next step and join me in one of the live sessions soon. And thanks for listening or watching. Namaste, which means the true self, Christ in me, acknowledges and honors that same true happy self in you. Peace.